And we see the video of Paige walking around an empty cattle farm of some description to indicate that he's a cowboy while this, again, the spaghetti western classic music plays in the background. He's as much of a cowboy as I am an astronaut from NASA. I love orbiting the Earth. Ground control to Major Jim.
Is Major Tom to ground control? I'm stepping through the door.
Can you see Stan Hansen making an entrance to a guitar and a whistling woman? But Sockface on the commentary was doing the voiceover that he had carefully written, describing the hangnail there, Adam Page, and basically he made him the only politically correct cowboy ever in wrestling. That matter. Anyway, so here comes the cowboy, and then Moxley and his goofs come out in the beat-up pickup truck. That Page should have driven out in a beat-up pickup truck. What? I don't know. They just... So the match starts, and it's a Texas death match. And it's for the AEW title, and it's Dick the Boozer versus Hangnail Page. And they start the contest somewhere around 5 hours and 15 or 20 minutes, I believe, into this thing, plus the pre-show. And they started off by trading forearms. And it's like it's a rib. It's like it's a rib. And then he's got a fork, and again, Moxley actually had Page stab him in the head with the fork about 20 times and puncture his head so he would start bleeding. Now, he augmented it later on with a blade because the fork didn't do that. But no, that was real. Because this guy, somebody needs to do a mental evaluation. He has one of these self-harm fetishes, or he thinks he's some goddamn famous psychopath serial killer. He fantasizes about that Nick Gage garbage. And he's been to, we know why he flunked out of the WWE, because of the mindset that he has. But he's been there, he didn't learn anything. 2 guys he was with left him in the fucking dust. But now he's here with a bunch of marks to support him in the locker room and tell him how great he is, and a fucking feckless boss who will let him do any kind of distasteful, low-class bullshit. This is what you get. And said before in the show, in the old days, the guys would do the hard way, get a black eye and make fucking people believe the business. Now, everything about both of these guys has told everybody this is all completely fake. It's all prearranged. We're cooperating with each other, but we're really going to slice each other up. So at the same time as they're calling attention to how fake wrestling is, they're really hurting each other and making each other look like goddamn subhuman sideshow fucking freak dwellers that like to inflict punishment on each other before they bite the head off the fucking live chicken. In this day and age, I didn't think it was possible to make wrestlers and wrestling look stupider, sillier, trashier, more low-class, vulgar, disgusting, and not for major league sponsorship. But they do it. So then, and Page got his juice the normal way, at least from his head. Later on, he'd be rolling around in broken glass, but at least even he's smarter than the freak show fellow, and he's an empty-headed dipshit. Moxley got a barbed wire chair, but he didn't hit Page with it. He put it down on the ground, picked Page up, and slammed him on it. Moxley asked Schaefer for a bucket of broken glass. And I wrote, I never thought I'd see people that made the Sheik and Abdullah look like athletes with good taste. And by the way, may I remind everybody, when the Sheik and Abdullah did this shit, it lasted 5 to 7 minutes. And you never saw anything like it before, and you didn't see anything for a long time afterwards like it. And then Moxley drug Page through the broken glass, and now the ring was trashed, and it couldn't work. Well, they did work in it anyway, because they take bumps in broken glass. There was a pile driver on the glass. Moxley raped some barbed wire over Page's back, and then Moxley turned his back and waited for Page to set the chairs up so that he could powerbomb Moxley onto him. And then Wheeler Useless came in and just nailed Page with a chair, but Page didn't sell it and knocked Wheeler out. And then Marina Schaefer interfered. So Page gave her a Death Valley driver off the apron through the table. Did you see that particular movement, Brian?
Of course I did. That was a big part of the match.
Did you see what Page did to take care of himself and not her?
What did he do?
The Death Valley driver, he turns her, he jumps off the apron, he landed on the table and broke it and got his fall cushion, but he put her just past the table. So her momentum was still going, and she took the move right on the floor. Fucking idiot. Anyway, so then they took some more bumps in the glass until Claudio got in and beat up Page, and then Wheeler beat up Page. Jim Ross's line there was, I know it's no DQ, but use some logic. Then they pulled out another table, but Ospreay came out and beat up Claudio and Wheeler, but Gabe Kidd stopped Ospreay and gave him a pile driver on the floor, and then they got a chair and they put the chair around his neck and Pillmanized Ospreay's neck on the floor with the chair. And I'm like, so what the fuck? They've crippled their top babyface now. They just carried Samoa Joe out the same way, and then all came to a halt. There's a bunch of these morons wandering around the ring just standing there staring. And then Moxley and Page start their match again. They do a suplex off the apron through 2 tables covered in barbed wire. While on the other side of the ring, Ospreay's getting taped to the backboard and wheeled off in a goddamn ambulance. Or not, the wheeled off on the stretcher. But then there's nothing happening again. And now Ospreay is taken out. The other heels are all standing around on the floor. So then Moxley gave him a double-arm DDT finish on the barbed wire chair. And the referee got to 9.5. Now they've gone so long, Paige's gig had already dried up. So then Moxley asked for a plastic bag, and Useless got in and handed it to him, and everybody just wandered around. And as he's got the plastic bag, suddenly, Brian, have I exaggerated anything so far? Just so the people know it's not just me.
No, not yet, no.
Well, on the screen, it was Darby Allin from the mountaintop. Coming to Canaanites. A video he took on Mount Everest. Say, I'm coming to get you. And then, while they're looking at the Darby on the screen, looked like he was near death on his fucking mountain. This stupid moron climbed on a billionaire's goddamn paycheck. Bryan Danielson jumps in the ring with a mask on and fucking gives the big knee to Wheeler and pulls the mask off and does the yes, yes, yes. And then Danielson kicked the shit out of the heel stooges all over ringside. But while everybody was watching that, they started lowering Darby from the ceiling. And they got a shot of it, and the announcers called it. But this was before the fans were seeing it because they're still watching Danielson chase these other son of a bitches out of there. And then Darby is down on the ground now, and Moxley stares at him, and Paige hit Moxley with the buckshot. And Darby gave a coffin drop off the top rope to all the heels on the floor, and they all fought off. And you'll think, well, here's the perfect time for the finish. Paige hits another buckshot, and then he gives him a deadeye off the apron through a table to the floor. Gotta be the finish. Referee counts Adam Page back in at 3. At 9, Schaefer goes around, hooks Moxley, picks him up. He stood up when she put her hands on him, and she yelled, "Fuck you" at Page. It goes on, because now the Hartley boys are in the ring, and they double super kick and double shitty knee lift Adam Page. And that leaves him a sitting duck for when Moxley and Schaefer pull out the bed of nails. And Dave, if you defend this bullshit like you always do with, well, I don't like it, but it works for this audience, fuck you, pal. You just won't admit the fucking truth. Your boys have shit the bed. This has gone too far. This is a complete train wreck of a presentation. I don't care if they sell 100,000 tickets a day. This is a bad show that gets worse. Deal with it. So then Paige crawled over to the bed of nails and got in position and kneeled stock still so that Moxley could curb stomp him on the bed of nails, then hit him with another double arm DDT on the bed of nails, and Paige got up at 9.5. Then Moxley said fuck a lot and told Schaefer to get the briefcase, and she went over to the ringside table and got it, but when she turned around, she realized that she was handcuffed to the railing, and from behind the table and barricade, Prince Nana stood up and revealed that he had handcuffed her, and she couldn't get loose. And that's when Swerve came down and leveled the buckaroos with a logging chain and tossed the chain into Paige. So the Paige, he hit him with the chain. He looked like he was trying to put it around his neck and do the finish, but I think Moxley said, no, you gotta hit me with a buckshot first so I can bump on a bed of nails. So they fought around for a minute and finally buckshot, he takes a bump on a bed of nails. And then he wrapped the chain around Moxley's neck and threw him over the top rope and hung him, and Moxley tapped out. And the fans were overjoyed that they were rid of Dick the Boozer, who was the only one on the roster who can make it look preferable that Adam Page would be the world champion. And then Page struggled to get the briefcase open and finally started crying. We were all crying at this point, and pulled the belt out, and there it was.